We're going to cover blood hits today, which is something that a lot of people have asked us for. First step is to find a blood hit that we can... Oh, there we go, right here, perfect. This is the final shot, going really slow, so you can compare it now with the original, which has nothing in it. My brother here gets pretty good air, I might add. The first thing to do with any shot with camera motion is to deal with the camera motion by tracking. Since Jimmy's guts are supposed to go from his stomach onto the wall there, we need to track something on the wall so that when we put the guts on there, it looks like it's sticking to the wall and is thus a part of the scene. So we're going to do that by tracking motion. So we're going to look for a high contrast point. This dot would be pretty good, except for the fact that later on in the shot, Jimmy covers it with his hand, so it's not that good. This corner of the grate here remains uncovered throughout the shot, so I'm going to use that, and we're going to hit play. Don't have to worry about rotation because the camera's not tilting around. Don't have to worry about scale because we're not zooming in. And it missed it at the very end there, but that's okay. We just drag it over and find it. Let's just take a look here. Pretty good. And we're going to go to the timeline, make a new null object, and then apply the motion that we just tracked here onto the null object. The null object will show up as this red box here. You'll notice now that the red box appears to be sticking to the grating there, which is good because now any object that we add to the scene and parent to that null object will look like it's sticking to the scene. So let's just test that out right now. Made a new text layer and then going to parent that to null2. And now, yep, looks like it's part of the wall there. First step here is to rotoscope Jimmy out so that anything on the wall behind him will look like it's behind him, like this blood spray, which is parented to the null object just like the text was. Then we're going to add the blood stain to his body, which you can do by hand, or you can track his belt buckle. This is a wet blood hit from the Action Essentials pack. And since it's coming out of him and then hanging kind of in the air, it needs to move like the camera does, so we parent it to the first null object, just like the blood splatter behind him. We add a mist of blood, which adds a little more visual impact, which you can do by taking a smoke hit from the Action Essentials pack and tinting it red. Now we also simulate a squib here, which adds a little smoke in the air, which is what it would look like if you were doing this practically on set, and also gives a little more body to the blood hit. And finally, one last little detail, because we're dealing with direct sunlight from the top left of the screen, the blood here in front of him would cast a very slight shadow onto the wall behind him. You can do this in After Effects by pre-comping all your blood layers together, tinting it black, blurring it, and then turning the opacity way down. Here's the final shot in the context of the final movie. The blood hits here in the wide are done basically the exact same way. Here are the blood hits from that scene in slow motion. So you might be thinking our tutorials are pretty advanced, and that's because we're trying to get across the principles and ideas behind why you do things, and not just a step-by-step guide on how to do it. The guys at Video Copilot are way better at the step-by-step stuff than I am, so if you're getting started and you're serious about VFX, I recommend you head over to videocopilot.net and run through the tutorials there. Just remember to always think about how you can apply what you're learning to the effects that you're trying to achieve.